Hello friends, Matt here with Peppercoat Barbecue and welcome back to the Peppercoat deck. Have I got another hot one for you today? It's another challenge, but today it's all about the pulled pork. I've got my old faithful, tried and true pulled pork champion, the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco, going up against the new Z Grills Pellet Grill. I'm going to be scoring both of these today on a scale of 1 to 5 in 8 different categories. 40 points is the maximum. Let's see who gets the closest. It's around 7:30 a.m., 70 degrees out here on a beautiful Saturday morning, and let's talk just a little bit about this cook and the plan for today. Now, I wanted to make this as even and as close as I possibly could. The Oklahoma Joe's Bronco I have been using for a little over 7 years. The Z Grills Pellet Grill I have been using for a little over 7 days. Now, if you've seen the previous Z Grills videos, my only complaint, it's not really a complaint, but my only issue so far is that the smoke flavor is fairly noticeable on most cooks. And to make this as even as I possibly could, I'm using Royal Oak charcoal in the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco today with a few cherry chunks in there. And then in the pellet grill, I dumped out the rest of the cherry splits that I had, and I found this Royal Oak charcoal pellet, and that's what I'm using today in the Z Grill. So there's a little bit of cherry pellet in here to get it started, and then it should move into that charcoal pellet. We're burning Royal Oak charcoal in both of them. According to the description on this pellet, it is the same thing as the charcoal, it's just in a pellet shape. On the Bronco today, I am using the Chef's Temp S1 hub and the Brizo fan. It just kind of evens out the playing field here between the two because, of course, you have the Wi-Fi and the digital controls on the pellet grill. So we just kind of have the same setup over here. So both of these smokers are set it and forget it. I lit the fire this morning in the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco around 6:15 a.m. and I think it was around 7:10 when it got up to that 250 degree mark right after I lit the fire. I set up my app, I turned on the Brizo fan and just let it do its thing. And for the Z Grills Pellet Grill, I just turned it on to 250 degrees. You hit the power button, you turn the knob, and that's pretty much it. I lit it at 6:30, and I think by around 6:45, 6:50, it was already up to 10. And there's probably somebody yelling at the screen already saying, why don't you use the smoke setting? And I'll tell you why, because both of these smokers should be set it and forget it. And if I'm doing this at night, I know that I can change the temperature from the app on my phone on either one of these. But if I set this at 160 or 180 on the smoke setting, I don't want to have to set an alarm an hour later just to move that temperature dial and move it up to 250. And in the middle of the night, I'm not getting up every hour to spritz. With the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco, I've let it run 6 to 8 hours, no spritz. Turns out nice and moist. I want to see how that compares, how the pellet grill holds up to that. I know there's a lot of convection in here. But we want to see how they compare. So I'm not touching these for at least 6 hours. I always tell everybody when you're grilling or smoking, never change over one thing at a time. Today, I'm going against my own rules and I'm changing 2 things. First, on these pork butts, I usually only do a salt and pepper overnight brine. But with these, I did a mix of salt with seasoning salt and some pepper. So that may change it a little bit on the bark. I don't think it'll make a huge change, but then the big change is going to be on the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco. I always run fat cap down. In fact, usually I will trim the fat cap almost completely off or most of the way off and still run that side down just to protect because the heat's coming up. It's not really an issue. It's very even cooking. So honestly, I don't think it matters either way. With the pellet grill, in my mind, it makes sense to run the fat cap down just because it's close to the heat source. But I've noticed with the cooks that I've had so far on the Z Grills, there's been no burning on the bottom and the top seems to render out a little better because of the way the convection's coming around. So I decided I wanted to go fat cap up on the pellet grill. So I'm doing fat cap up on both. I did not trim the fat cap. I scored the fat cap. I wanted to try that. I've seen a lot of people doing that. So that's how we are cooking these today. I put the pork butts on the smokers around 7:15 this morning, and I have the app set up on both of these smokers to alert me at 203 degrees. Now, we're not going to reach that before we check them. We'll check on them in about 6 hours, and at that point, we'll probably wrap them. The great thing about these smokers is I don't have to be here. We're at the 6 hour mark. It is 1:15 now, and I just want to point out a couple of things before we look at these pork butts. I've noticed from the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco, I get a lot more smoke over here, even with the charcoal pellets. Rarely do I see any smoke coming out of the pellet grill. The smell out here is great. I can tell that the fat is rendering. I think a lot of that, though, is coming from in the Oklahoma Joe's. It renders down into the fire, so you get more, a little more smoke from that and a little more smell, whereas with the pellet grill, it is rendering out over here into this bucket. The internal temperature during this cook has been extremely close all the way. The pellet grill is 4 or 5 degrees ahead now of the drum smoker. You can see up here, both of them, they've done their job. They've done a great job of staying around that 250 degree mark all day long. I haven't had to touch them or do anything to them. Let's check out the pellet grill first. There's our pellet grill pork butt. See, we're a lot browner over here on this side. Next to the stack. That's pretty good color over here. A little light on top though. Missing some color. Looks like it's just starting to render out in that fat cap. Let's check it over here with our Bronco. Oh yeah, much darker color over here on the fat cap. You can see a lot more rendering in there. Now, if I wasn't doing this challenge, I would probably just continue to smoke this one on the pellet grill for a while. But since I'm trying to do an apples to apples comparison, I'm keeping them as similar as I possibly can. So I'm going to go ahead and get them wrapped in some butcher paper, not adding anything to the wrap, and we'll get them back out on the smokers. I'm going to go ahead and bump that temperature up to around 300 degrees to go ahead and finish these out to an internal temperature of 203 degrees. It is 3 p.m. now, so 9 hours and 45 minutes, I think, if I mathed right, that we've been smoking the one here in the Z Grills Pellet Grill. It is temping out at 203 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it off. The one over here in the Bronco, the drum smoker, is sitting at 198. Now, our pellet smoker is held steady at 300 degrees. The drum smoker did come up to 304, but it's steadily dropped back down around in the mid 280s now. So I'm wondering if that Royal Oak charcoal, I don't typically use Royal Oak. I'm wondering if it's about to burn up in there. It shouldn't be, but we'll see tomorrow when we clean it out. But for right now, I'm going to pull this out, take it in the house, let it sit on the counter and rest for a little while this one catches up. It's 15 minutes later. It's been exactly 10 hours since I put this pork butt on the smoker this morning. And now the one over here in the Bronco is up to 203 degrees internal temperature. Since we're through with the smoking process, I'm going to go ahead and start our scoring with category number 1, ease of use and functionality. Now, anyone that has an Oklahoma Joe's Bronco, you know that these are fairly easy to use already. But when you add the functionality of this S1 and the Brizo or a comparable unit by another brand name, then it truly makes it set it and forget it. The biggest drawback to the functionality or ease of use to this is it does take a little more to set it up. You have the disassembly. And if you are to run out of charcoal in a longer cook, and I'm afraid with the Royal Oak, it seems like it's probably getting low. That may be brand dependent upon your charcoal and what you're using. But if I had to disassemble this in the middle of a cook, add more charcoal and get my fire going again, that could cause a real issue. Now, with the Z Grills or with any pellet grill, I mean, it's truly set it and forget it. I mean, how hard is this? You push a button, you turn a knob, and you're ready to cook. So with all of that being said and taken into consideration, I'm going to give the Z Grills a 5, and I'm going to give the Bronco a 2. Now, don't flip out on me. If I had a newer model Bronco or one of the newer model pit bosses that had the swinging door in the front, the easy load door, I would probably move that up to a 3, but I don't have that, so it's 5 to 2. The second category that I'll be scoring in is overall time, not just the cooking time, which was very close to each other. It took about 15 minutes longer on the drum smoker than it did on the pellet smoker. So, I mean, hand in hand, that's not much difference. The pellet smoker did light up in about 15 to 20 minutes. It was ready to go. Whereas the Bronco, it took it an hour to get up to 250 degrees this morning. As far as cool down time, both of them's probably about even. Once you shut the Bronco down, it smothers out that fire, and then you go through that 15-minute shutdown process over here. So you gain a little bit of your time back with the pellet grill, but not that much. So for these, I'm going to give the pellet grill a 5 because I don't think it can get much better than that. And then with the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco, with the drum smoker, I'm going to give it a 4. The pork butts turned out fabulous. They both look really good. You can see the one that came off the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco. It is a lot darker, but let's take a deeper look at them. Our next category we wanted to grade these on was fat render. You can see where we scored this fat cap up here on the Bronco. And this rendered out really nicely. And like I said, I had never actually done that before. If you look over here, the one that was on the pellet grill, we still have a lot of fat left up here. And like I said earlier, if I was going to do this and try to make the best pork butt that I could on the pellet grill, I would have probably just left this on there the whole time or for at least longer. So for fat rendering, I'm going to give the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco a 4 because I think that this is very similar to Offset. I think Offset does a little better, but I'm going to give the Bronco a 4, so the drum smoker gets a 4. And for the pellet smoker, I don't know. I mean, I know it could have been done better. It's not terrible, but I'm going to give it a 2 just because of the thickness that's still left on this fat cap. For the next category, bark and color. I mean, I think we have a clear winner here. I know some people may prefer the lighter color, but to me, this looks like barbecue. This looks like what a pork butt should look like. So I'm giving this a 5, and I'm going to give the pellet grill a 3. And again, that's basically just personal preference. The next category that we're going to look at is the moisture retention inside these pork butts. So I'm going to start pulling these. This is the one from the pellet grill, and we'll see how easily this bone comes out. Well, that does not just slide out the way that it usually does. There it comes. I was just pulling it the wrong way. I'm used to being fat cap down when it comes off of the Joe. So yeah, bone comes out nice and clean. Well, let's flip it over, pull it open here, and see what kind of moisture we have on the inside. It's pretty good. It's a little dry inside of this muscle here. Overall, that's pretty good. Let's pull this one. Over here is the one from the Joe, the drum smoker. Same thing with the bone there. Comes out nice and clean. Well, let's look here, see what we've got. That is extremely hot. I think there's a little more moisture inside of this one. Just kind of scan over those there and see what you think. I really don't know that there's that much difference. No, I don't think there's that much difference. So for moisture retention, I'm going to give both of them a 5 because I think they're very similar and they're both nice and moist on the inside and cooked really well. For the next category, it is the depth of the smoke ring. So again, if we take a look at these and just kind of scan over these here, and I'm gonna let you choose. Which one do you think has the better smoke ring, the more pink tint, more pink color around the edge? What do you think? I mean, they're pretty even. I mean,
this one has just a bit more.
There's just a tad more over here, but not much. I mean, in this part back here, I think there's a little more. And neither one of them have what you would get off of an offset. So I'm going to tie these up again. And for the depth of smoke ring, I'm going to give both of them a 4. So in the name of fairness, just like we did in the last test, I'm blindfolded. And so now we're going for the taste test and see if we get that smoky flavor. And my wife is going to hand me one of these. Maybe.
Okay.
That was awkward. That was good.
Nice.
That was good barbecue. That's got a good smoky flavor. Yeah. Let me have the next one. Believe it or not, those are pretty close. I want to say that the first one was a little bit smokier, and so I'm going to say that was the Oklahoma Joe's. The second one, yeah, had a great flavor, just not quite as much of a smoky flavor. Am I right?
You are.
Woo, champion. That's really, really close, and they are both really good. The drum smoker does have just a little bit more of a smoky note to it, but not nearly the difference that we got on the ribs and the chicken and other cooks. So I'm going to give the drum a 5, and I'm going to give the pellet smoker a 4. But before you start yelling at your screen, I've got 8 people that will be here this evening, and I'm going to get all of their opinions, and I'll let you know how they scored them. It is the next day, and as promised, I had a blind taste test with 8 people. No, I didn't put purple blindfolds on them. I had 2 trays out labeled A and B. That was the first 2 bites that everyone had to take before they could get any of their food or eat anything else, and they had to choose a winner, A or B. And everybody was in the same boat I was in. They were like, it's really close, and they were back and forth. And one might say, well, this one's a little more tender, or this one's a little more smoky. And then someone else would say, no, this one's more smoky, or this one's more tender. So they were extremely even across the board. But with a vote of 5-3, the pellet grill was the winner. So having seen that and experienced that, I'm going to change my scoring to a 4 for the pellet grill and a 4 for the Oklahoma Joe Bronco, the drum smoker. And the reason I'm not moving them both to 5 is because I still think that the pulled pork coming off of an offset smoker is just, I mean, slightly better. But at the same time, I'm beginning to question everything that I know. The last category is cleanup. And for the Z Grills Pellet Grill, or at least for the model that I have, you have to remove the grates, take your aluminum foil off of that first deflector plate or drip plate there, which isn't too bad, makes that easy. Then you pull out your next deflector plate. Then you have to get a vacuum cleaner, and you got to vacuum up all of the ash and get the ash out of the little burn pot, which I absolutely despise. So because of that, the pellet grill gets a 2. On the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco, again, very similar. You pull out the grate, you pull out the deflector plate. If you didn't use a drip pan, then you got to scrape all of the gunk off of the deflector plate. Then you shake everything out of the charcoal pan down into the ash pan at the bottom. You take that out, you dump it, and then you reassemble everything. And usually bending over in there, I get grease on my fat belly on the front of my shirts. And so because of that, I'm going to give the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco a 1. Now, if I had the newer model of Bronco with the pull-out door, the swing-out door, It may rate, you know, about the same or possibly even higher, but I got what I got, and it gets a 1. With all the categories totaled, we do have a winner. Now, coming in second place with a total of 29 points out of a possible 40 is the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco Drum Smoker. That means in first place with 30 points is the Z Grills Pellet Grill. In the last few videos that you've seen in my comparisons and my first video that I did about the pellet grill, the only negative that I could really say was, one, I don't like to clean out, but the big drawback is the depth of smoke and that smoky flavor. I just feel like it was missing, but by changing these pellets today, I really feel like that I got that depth of smoke flavor. And I just want to say, I think it is super impressive that I took a grill that I've had for maybe 2 weeks now, maybe that's pushing it, and I could turn out pulled pork that is as good as it was over here off of the drum smoker, which I have literally smoked hundreds of pork butts on. So to me, that's really impressive. I would highly recommend either of these smokers to anybody that is looking to get into smoking. If you are interested in a pellet grill, you can check out this link down here from Z Grills. I would suggest you check them out. They have a lot of different grills and smokers to offer. Right now, they have a great grill deal where you buy one, get 10 free over the next 50 years. That's limited time, and it may be over by the time you see this video. I don't know. And giving away that kind of grills, Z Grills may be out of business by the time you watch this. Who knows? But anyway, check it out. At the end of the day, I appreciate all of you watching, subscribing, liking, doing all of those good things. And I just want you to get out there. I don't care if you're using splits, charcoal, gas, pellets, whatever. Get out, cook something, have fun, enjoy life, and meet me here next time on Peppercoat Barbecue.